Hi guys, it's Michelle, Deception Bytes, and today is September 20th, and it's 9:40 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, I am picking up from where we left off with part one of September 19th post. I did have to take a break, but I am back, and as I promised you, I did look up some information regarding the last post that we covered. Now, the last post that we looked at in the last video, part one of September 19th, was about Trudeau. Now, this is a question and answer period that Q does at times, and an Anon asked, Trudeau, anything? Owl. Now, what he's saying is, Q, do you have anything on Trudeau? Oh, I think Q has a whole lot on Trudeau. Well, Q responds to this person and says, billionaires, 187. Now, he has a billionaire, and if he was talking about more than one, like, it's curious to me that he put S in brackets. It really is. Because if he was talking about, I think he's talking about two billionaires in particular, personally, that were murdered in Canada. Probably one of the most famous murders ever in Canada, because there's so much controversy surrounding it. And it has to do with the owners of a pharmaceutical company called Apotex. And it's interesting here because this person, Q, is tying this to Trudeau. Now, this is curious to me. I'm going to take you out and show you something. Let me see here. This article, it says billionaire couple linked to Clinton Foundation, Haiti relief were murdered in their home. Now, originally when this was reported, it was reported as a murder-suicide, which seemed bizarre to me because they were both found hanging as if they had hung themselves, which it was impossible for them to have hung themselves the way they were hanging, because the way their house, and they were literally billionaires, the way their house, they lived in Forest Hill, I believe, in Toronto, one of, if not the richest neighborhoods in Toronto. And their house, I guess, had several levels, but from those levels, you could look down into the pool. So it would be kind of, have you ever been to a hotel like that where you've got, the rooms around the outside, and then in the middle, you can look down from all the floors into the pool. So their house was like that, and they were found hanging over the pool. Now, I don't know how anyone could murder somebody by doing that and then murder themselves that way. It would be very difficult because they were found up high over the pool. So I think just about everybody that has a brain knew that it wasn't a murder-suicide, but that was the way it was originally ruled. Well, now, however, they have come back and ruled it murder, which, of course, anybody, with any, with more than two neurons to rub together could have figured that out. But it says a professional contract killing. Now, this is the couple, and their last names are Sherman, and the two deaths were reported at the home of Canadian billionaire Barry Sherman and his wife, Honey, on December 15th, 2017. Now, and like I said, this is the couple. They owned a pharmaceutical company, which is huge. I mean, I don't know if Apotex is in the States or not. I would assume that it is, but it's extremely familiar to anybody that lives in Canada. And the interesting thing is their ties, which were pretty much covered up in the Canadian newspapers, and you really did have to go to the alternate news sources to find out anything about their ties. What is interesting to me is that Q is tying this to Trudeau. Now, Trudeau, as you know, gave, I believe it was $20 million to the Clinton Foundation, and he is the darling of the New World Order. Well, maybe not the darling of the New World Order, but he is certainly one of their puppets. The boy is not that bright, and I'm sorry to say that, but he's not. He was a substitute drama teacher. Yes, that's what he did for a living. He was a substitute drama teacher, and I'm really not sure how that prepares you to be the Prime Minister of Canada, except that his father was a very popular Prime Minister in his day. In fact, I actually met his father and shook his hand, and his hand was very sweaty. I remember that because I was quite disgusted. Anyway, the thing is, this boy is really a substitute drama teacher. Yes. Not that there's anything wrong with drama teachers. If you're a drama teacher, don't send me hate mail. I'm not putting drama teachers down at all. What I'm saying is, how does that prepare you for a career in politics? And if that was your desire, wouldn't you take something like political science or law or something that might better prepare you to run a country? I mean, this is the young man that, when asked how he would balance the Canadian budget, said, "Oh, the budget will balance itself." Really? Okay, well, that doesn't work so well for my checkbook. Has that ever worked for you? So anyway, and that's his mentality, and that is how he's running the country, and the country has never been worse as far as I'm concerned. Now, if you are a Trudeau fan, don't send me hate mail, because you know what? We're different people and we are entitled to our opinions. I have based my opinion on the facts that I know and the facts that I have, and you may have other opinions and have read different things, but that's what I believe. Now, how is this couple how is it associated with Trudeau? I don't know, but I would just about guarantee you that this is who Q is talking about, because if you are in Canada and have never heard of this couple, then you have been living under a rock, or maybe perhaps in Iraq. But I don't know how you could avoid it, because everybody knows what Apotex is and how huge a pharmaceutical company that is. Now, sorry, I had to get a drink there. Now, this is an interesting couple. Says 2 deaths were reported at the home of Canadian billionaire Barry Sherman and his wife. Toronto police said their deaths are being treated as suspicious. Now, since then, though, the Gateway Pundit has an update on the story regarding the Canadian officials announced on Friday that billionaires Barry and Honey Sherman were murdered in their home in December. For the past month, officials called their deaths a murder-suicide. The couple was found strangled in their Toronto home. It wasn't just that they were strangled. That makes it sound a little bit more benign than it was. They were found hanging from nooses over their swimming pool. Yes, they were. Harrods is reporting it was a professional contract killing. The New York Post reports the billionaire husband and wife found hanging side by side in their posh Toronto home last month were both murdered, according to bombshell reports citing a team of private investigators on Saturday. Multiple killers played a role in the deaths of Barry and Honey Sherman, contrary to the widely circulated murder-suicide theory initially leaked by law enforcement, sources told CBC News, citing a parallel probe by a team of investigators hired by the couple's family. Now, I can assure you, had this couple not been billionaires and had they not had private investigators looking into this, it would never have been solved. And I can guarantee you that. I can guarantee you that. No, I won't get into that. But anyway, a real estate agent who was selling the $5.4 million home had discovered pharmaceutical mogul Barry, 75, and Honey, 70, dead on December 15th. Now, I also heard that they were building a new home, because actually $5.4 million home is actually, for the Toronto market, fairly paltry. I mean, seriously, for the Toronto market, you really can't get a house that you would live in under $1 million in Toronto. And I'm saying a house that you would live in. Seriously, it can't be found. And even $1 million home in Toronto doesn't buy you much. It does not buy you much at all. So there you have it. $5.4 million home. It makes me realize why they were in the midst of having a new home built. They were meeting with architects and so forth. Now, probably has nothing to do with anything, but I just wanted to let you know that for this couple, a $5.4 million home would be like owning a cottage. Okay. Now, the Gateway Pundit further reports that Barry Sherman founded Apotex Pharmaceutical Company. Apotex supplied generic drugs to the Clinton Foundation in Haiti and Rwanda. Now, I also heard that the pharmaceuticals that they had provided to the Clinton Foundation in Haiti were expired. They could not have gotten rid of them any other way. Now, do I know that for a fact? No. I've read that, and I need to look further into it. I didn't realize that it was, as connected possibly as it really is to the whole Q thing. So it's something that I am going to look into further, but that is what I heard, that they were pawning off pharmaceuticals that had been expired, and then of course they could claim the tax relief because they would be giving these pharmaceuticals, and then they could claim it as a charitable donation and get it off their tax money, and I'm sure it was a whole big whatever. But was Trudeau involved in this? Well, I think it's possible, considering that Q brought it up, and I know, I can tell you, I can guarantee you, unless I am just off my nut, I really believe that that is who Q is referring to. Because if you were in Canada, are in Canada, have been born in Canada, or visited Canada, you know what Apotex is. And this couple is very well known, and there are not a lot of billionaires in Canada. There just aren't. Now, how do I know that? Because I looked it up. Because I thought, how many billionaires really are there in Canada? Now, I think the United States has the most billionaires per capita in the world, but actually Canada doesn't even make the list of the top 15 countries with billionaires. So that tells you something. Now, there are very wealthy people in Canada, but there's not a lot of people that live here, and there's around 100 or just slightly over billionaires that live in Canada. That's it. So hang on here, let me go back for a second. For him to say billionaire and then S, meaning, I think that means two, personally, killed. Billionaires killed. Okay, well, when you think Trudeau, Canada, billionaires killed, the first thing that should pop into your head is Barry and Honey Sherman. So that's why I think this is related. And then he says, 5I, safety house build. Now, this is interesting because they were building a house. They had met with their architects and they were building a new house. Now, whether that is what Q means, I don't know, but they were building a brand new house. Safety house build. I don't know. But then he links it to this. U1 funnel to Canada and then to X, probably meaning Russia, Q. So all of this has to be related. It has to be related. Either that or these are two separate things. The uranium one and the billionaires, but it has to do with Trudeau. Because that is what the question that was asked. They asked, do you have anything on Trudeau? This is how Q responded. So this involves Trudeau. Uranium One, and the killing of the billionaires. And of course, Canada is part of 5I. So, was Canada involved in, the deep state spying on Donald Trump? Well, I don't know that definitively, but I would just about bet that the answer is yes. Because Trudeau is very, very, very much a puppet of the deep state. Very much so. And it's pretty easy to tell. I mean, the man wears ducky socks to an economic conference. Who does that? No one. That's who. Anyway, it's no wonder his eyebrows try to run away from his face. But anyway, that is that. Now let me just go back here for 1 second because I wanted to finish this up. Now, Apotex supplied generic drugs to the Clinton Foundation in Haiti and Rwanda. Apotex also donated medicines and supplies to the Clinton Foundation Puerto Rican relief efforts in 2017. So, do you think any of this is related? The fact that Trudeau gave $20 million of taxpayers' money to the Clintons. The fact that this couple were donating through the Clinton Foundation to all these so-called relief efforts, but from my understanding, it was a way to get rid of drugs that had passed their expiration date. Now, okay, I did missionary work in Central America, and that is quite common because I know, I've got an associate degree in pharmacy as well. I put myself through my first college degree working in pharmacies. So when I did missionary work in Central America, that's something that's fairly common. They'll donate drugs to the clinics and things down there, but the drugs are expired. Now, it doesn't mean that they're bad because drugs go far after their expiration date. But when you look at a drug and it has an expiration date, it means that that drug has full efficacy. It's fully the date of the expiration means, okay, up until this point, you can count on this drug being 100% what it says it is. If it's 100 milligram strength, then it's 100 milligram. But after that time, what happens is the efficacy goes down a bit. It weakens or whatever. But, drugs can be taken long, long after their expiration date. Not all drugs, but most drugs. So anyway, that's the story there. And I really, really want to know the connections here because this has my interest piqued. Now, let's go on. So that was about Trudeau. And the next question came, and this Anon posted this screen print of, or this JPEG of Flynn, General Flynn, and asked Q, Flynn exonerated soon? Q responds and says, in the end, all will be right. Patriots protect patriots. Q. So Q is letting us know that, you know what, don't worry about it. It's all going to come out in the wash. And we're going to protect patriots, okay? We're going to make things right. Justice is going to be served. So that is what he wants us to know about Flynn. And here we go. Here's the next one. Okay, this is Q, and he's saying sexual misconduct is the public shelter to accept resignation. Watch those announcing 2020 presidential running. You cannot attack a political opponent. None are protected, none are safe. Q. What is Q saying here? Well, he's saying that these people that whose resignation he is accepting, because remember at the very start, Q said that those that would agree to resign and to not seek re-election would not be prosecuted. All right? Now, that probably, refers to those who have much less, against them than, say, Clinton and Obama and so forth. But, he's saying sexual misconduct is the public shelter. So a lot of people are resigning under the umbrella of sexual misconduct, but that is just because the real reason has not been made known. There may be some sexual misconduct there, but it's more or less the the public shelter, the umbrella under which they're saying, yeah, I there was some sexual misconduct, so I'm going to resign. Whereas really they have no choice but to resign, because if they didn't resign, they would be prosecuted for probably much, much worse than sexual misconduct, which of course is not against the law. Now, it says, watch those announcing a 2020 presidential running. Now, why is that? Because you cannot attack a political opponent. So what he is saying is that some of these guys may say, oh yeah, I'm going to run in 2020 in the presidential election of 2020. And they're saying that because then they think that Trump cannot attack them because they're a political opponent. But what he is telling us is none are protected, none are safe. Q. So they may think that they can do that and just say, hey, I'm going to run for president in 2020 and that'll protect them. But Q's saying, sorry, none are protected, none are safe. Q. Well, that's good news to me. I hope it is to you as well. So here is the next. And it says CM. And CM stands for Code Monkey. And Code Monkey, of course, is the person that is looking after the technical issues with the board. And it says, Code Monkey, please divert more resources, bandwidth into board. Q. So obviously, what was happening is we were getting errors and the board was slowing down. And why was it slowing down? Because the traffic was going up. Traffic is exploding on the board, and Q was saying, look, hey, Code Monkey, could you please divert more resources or bandwidth onto the board, because things are slowing down and people are getting errors. That is what that is all about. Now, here, it says, now who is he replying to here? 309-3795, 3795. Well, I don't know, but we may have to go out here and check this out, because I don't want to tell you something that isn't so. Just because. All right, well, I'm just going to go out to the board here and see who Q is responding to there when he is saying yes. And it does take a minute because this board is slow. So Q, this is the post, and he is responding to, just 1 second, this board really is slow. The traffic is exploding. People all over the world are visiting it. Okay. This is what he's responding to. Q, was the Pentagon hit by a plane on 9/11? Now, let's go back. And Q says yes. Q. Now, I don't know about you, and I saw on the comments from, actually it was my funny post from yesterday about the animals, someone commented on there that Q had said a plane hit the Pentagon, that he said someone had asked, and Q had said yes, a plane did hit the Pentagon. Well, that concerned me. And it obviously concerned several other people. But someone had a good comment. And it actually cheered me up a little bit, because, you know, if you've looked into 9/11, I think you're probably convinced that a plane didn't hit the Pentagon, a missile did. So I had a little bit of issue with that. But here's the thing. Somebody, and I can't remember who it was, but I believe it is a regular listener, because I recognized the moniker there. And he or she said, well, Q has said that disinformation is necessary. So maybe this is part of the disinformation. And I would have to agree with that assessment, and I'll tell you why. If someone said, did a plane hit the Pentagon, and Q responded, no, a missile hit it, what do you think would happen? Because, probably, I mean, I don't know about the states, because it's like, to me, bringing up 9/11 always seemed like if you brought up 9/11 in a group of people, people would like sit there like deer in the headlights. Nobody wanted to talk about it. And so I know here, if you ever said in Canada, yeah, it was a missile that hit the Pentagon, like people would probably consider locking you up. And so perhaps Q just doesn't want to open that can of worms by saying no, it was a missile, because then it would hit probably every newspaper and it would probably be part of the 4 a.m. drop saying Q says missile hit Pentagon, and then everybody, you see what I'm saying? So when he says disinformation is necessary, perhaps this is part of that disinformation, because I don't care if Q is saying a plane hit the Pentagon or not. I don't believe it. So there you go. But Q, having said previously that disinformation is necessary at times, I am choosing to believe that this is part of it. Otherwise, I would have to start questioning Q. And because he has already warned us that disinformation is necessary, I'm going to go with that. Now, at this point, anyway, here is the next question to Q. It says, Q, are we alone? Roswell? So what this person is saying is, are we alone in the universe? Are there extraterrestrial beings? What about Roswell? As in Roswell, what about that? And so the question is, are we alone? And Q responds, no. Highest classification. Consider the vastness of space. Q. Now, this concerns me, and I'll tell you why. Now, I know that for a lot of you, it will not concern you at all because you believe that we are not alone in the universe. And I agree, we are not alone in the universe. But I do not believe that they are, they are extraterrestrial beings. Yes, they are. And yes, I believe in them. And you know why I believe in them? Because I am a student of Scripture, and it's right there in Scripture. However, they would not be what we would call extraterrestrial beings. They are what we would call the fallen angels or demons. Now, that is what I believe they are, and I cannot be convinced otherwise. I know that there have been civilizations that have been in contact with these beings, but as I said earlier, they are beings that are deceitful and do not have our best interests in mind, because I believe that they are fallen angels. That is just my belief. You are welcome to believe what you believe, but this concerns me that he says, no, we are not alone, highest classification. Now, I have heard and I believe that the Third Reich was taking basically their playbook from these beings that they were in contact through. And, I don't know how much you understand about the demonic. I understand more than I would ever want to know because of some things that I stumbled upon. And they are able to contact these beings, and there are people that are possessed. There are even there's a psychiatrist, a very, very famous psychiatrist called his last name is Peck, but I can't remember if it's I can't remember his first name. Anyway, his last name is Peck, and the book is called People of the Lie. Now, if you want to read a good, balanced book about evil, I would suggest you read it. Again, it's called People of the Lie. Now, I'm not going to say that I agree and endorse every single thing that's said in that book, but it is a very good book, and it's written from a secular viewpoint. So you can't say, oh, well, that's just some religious freak writing that. No, it was a psychiatrist, and it was taken from his observations of people that he considered that there was no other explanation for their behavior other than they were or inhabited by evil. So let's go on from there. Now, here is the next one, and it says, was moving the date back on POTUS FEMA presidential alert significant? And Q responds and says, due to Kavanaugh confirmation push, hand in hand. Okay, due to the Kavanaugh confirmation push, they needed to occur hand in hand. All right, that's what he's saying. Rod Rosenstein stand down due to Kavanaugh confirmation. So the whole Rod Rosenstein situation had to be, they have stood down due to the Kavanaugh confirmation. Now, here is a comment by Lisa May Crowley that I'm going to read to you. Some speculate, since the 20th of September was slated for the presidential alert EBS test, which coincided with the vote to confirm Kavanaugh, and new test date coincides with possible new date for confirmation vote. This may be when FISA declassification is to be published. Kavanaugh is the swing Supreme Court vote regarding the military tribunals. So it's pretty darn important. And don't think that that has escaped the notice of the Democrats, because they are pulling out all stops. And I do mean all stops. All right, now let's go on. And here is the next one. And it says, Code Monkey, please confirm as soon as possible resource upgrade. Tracking 330,000 IPs, which is causing extreme lag. Q. Wow. 330,000 IPs. That's how many people were on the board when Q wrote this. Code Monkey, please confirm as soon as possible resource upgrade. He's asking the Code Monkey, or Code Monkeys, I'm not sure. I think it's just one in charge there, but I don't know. He wants more bandwidth because there's too many people on the board, and it's resulting in errors and lags and everything else. And Q is concerned because this is how he gets his message out. And if that is compromised or slowed down, or if people are going out there and they're getting all sorts of error messages, that's a big concern. So the next one is Q. Did NASA fake the moon landings? Have we been to the moon since then? Are there secret space programs? Is this why the Space Force was created? Now Q responds and says, false. Moon landings are real. Programs exist that are outside of public domain. Q. Now, I have heard that before, that there are space programs that we know absolutely nothing about, but I was a little leery. I just didn't know what I thought about it. And to tell you the truth, I don't know what I think about the whole moon landing thing, because I have looked at it from both sides. And I'll tell you, the people that say the moon landings are fake, at first I really thought they needed some psychological help. I really did. And I believed that for a very long time. And then I thought, you know what? There can't be that many people that are that out of it. I'm going to look into this and see what their point is, so that I can either say, yeah, they're nuts, or debunk it, and say, yeah, they're nuts, or say, hey, they've got some points here. And to tell you the truth, they have some good points. So if you've never looked into it, you should, because I think it will shock you. It'll really shock you. So I don't know. This is what Q is saying. And at this point, we have to assume that Q is telling us the truth or giving us disinformation for a very good reason. But Q is saying moon landings are real and that programs exist outside of the public domain. And I do believe that. I've heard that from several very, very good sources. Now, let's continue on. Here is the next, and this is the last post for September 19th. It says, this one is from an Anon, and it says, we're definitely being attacked. No, we are DDoSing ourselves, which, like, that's a DDoS attack, ourselves with over 330,000 IPs. Now, this is Q, And Q responds to this person and says 412,000 now, Q. So from 330,000 IPs, it jumped to 412,000 IPs. Like, that's a lot of people on that board. A lot for one time. So that tells you that this is worldwide, and people are interested. People are looking at what Q has to say, no matter what the mainstream media says and how they try to play it and say, oh, it's a conspiracy theory that nobody pays attention to. Oh, really? Well, if nobody's paying attention to it, then why do you feel the need to report on it? That's a logical question, don't you think? So beneath here, I have added just this little blurb by Lisa May. Anon refutes another Anon, saying the Q Research Board is being attacked via DDoS, which means distributed denial of service, and sheer massive number of visitors on the board is causing site lag, 502 errors, 412,000 IP addresses now. Now that's something. So we can see now that what they like to refer to as a little conspiracy theory that only a few nuts are following, not so much the case, is it? Not so much the case. And that's just that board. You think about how many YouTube videos there are out there and blogs that are writing about it and so forth, because not everybody feels comfortable going out to the 8chan board and navigating through it, because it is a little confusing. So that's 412,000 people, but a lot of people don't go out to the boards. They get their news from they'll listen to people like myself or others on YouTube, or read about it in blogs and so forth. So there's a lot of people interested in this. This isn't just a little fringe thing anymore. It has exploded. So that's it for September 19th, and I am going to be going on to September 20th next, but that is it for this video. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. I hope that you guys enjoy the rest of your evening and that you stay well and stay safe, and I will talk to you real soon. Thank you. Good night.